Are you coming to the tree where they strung up a man, the same murder three? Strange things that happen here, no stranger would it be if we met at midnight in the hanging tree.
Welcome to Strange Things, broadcasting from the Raimundo Rios Mayo Library in Arkanasa. And welcome to the show. I'm Chris James, your host. Tonight, we're going to be talking about haunted hotels. This is season number 2, episode 21. It is May 27th, 2017. That was some storm we had last Sunday. Our neighborhood didn't get hit too hard, but some places really got smashed. The young man who was killed just around the corner from our home. I've been through several hurricanes in my time. The major difference is the rainstorm we had just lasted maybe 20 minutes. A hurricane might last 30 or 40 hours. That and the wind can blow up to 150 miles an hour. Way back when I was a lot younger, some not too bright individual decided to build some luxury apartments right on the seawall of Galveston. When asked about the buildings, the builder said that they could withstand winds up to 75 miles an hour. It doesn't become a hurricane until the wind is blowing at 74 miles an hour. It's called a Category 1. A Category 2 is when the wind reaches 96 miles an hour. A Category 5 is 155 miles an hour. There is no Category 6 because the instrumentation used to measure wind speed all blows away at 155 miles an hour. The next hurricane that hit Galveston blew the buildings away. Now, during my time working for the government, I was sent far and wide for either training or work assignments. This made staying in a lot of hotels necessary. Some were really nice places, and some just reeked of a low budget. Rooms by the hour. It all hinged on how the budget was faring and where I was sent. The most unusual hotel the government put me up in was the Adolphus in Dallas. Wow. Talk about feeling out of place. The average rent was $199 all the way up to $319 a night. Now the government didn't pay that much. They paid the usual going rate, which is around $95 a night. I am not into valet parking or maids in uniform. One of the nicest rooms I ever stayed in, on the government dime, was only $65 a night, and it was in Kentucky. But we were in Dallas for training, and the hotels were all full. The Texas-Oklahoma game was that weekend. I don't recall which floor I was on. I believe it might have been the 5th or the 6th, but the room was huge. The bathroom was as big as our bedroom at home. That second toilet shot water in the air. It was bizarre. The TV was at the other end of the room, and it was actually too far to watch while laying in bed. The Adolphus Hotel is one of the Lone Star State's most prestigious hotels. It was built by the famous beer tycoon, Adolphus Busch. The historic Adolphus has been providing guests with luxury and comfort since 1912. Guests enjoyed the services so much, some decided to stay on long after they died. 1910, the city of Dallas was booming and was crying out for a grand hotel. The city leaders spoke to Adolphus in the hopes of convincing him to back the building. He did, and construction began later that year on the new $1 million hotel. The planning of the building was contracted out, and the architectural geniuses of Barnett, Haynes, and Barnett of St. Louis Their task was to create a masterpiece that signified Dallas as a city that meant business. Its Baroque style was unlike any other building in downtown, a downtown which was considered unsophisticated by many. The original plan was to name the hotel the New Oriental, in homage to the first hotel Adolphus had built on the opposite corner of where the new hotel was being built. However, it was decided that in honor of the owner, the Adolphus was born. As I was hitting the hay for the evening to be ready for class the next day, I could hear the sound of what was furniture being shuffled back and forth across the floor. A hardwood floor at that. The chairs being moved. Not loud, but it was always persistent. At first you'd have thought the guests next door were playing some kind of musical chairs. Only there was no one next door. And the floors are all carpeted, including in the hallway. The sound would go on all night, never very loud, but it was always there. One of the more common reports is received by the front desk manager during the night from guests complaining about either loud footsteps outside their room or the sound of a piano or a big band playing music from time to past. Upon inspection by security staff, there is never anybody in the hallway, nor is there anyone playing music. Another common experience from guests and staff alike is the feeling of being watched or followed. Staff working the amply named graveyard shift experience this feeling all the time. However, upon looking around behind them, there's never anyone there. Accompanying this feeling are often the sounds of doors slamming shut nearby. Shortly after the death of a woman who was a regular at the hotel's bistro, the staff began to see her apparition walking in and sitting down at her usual table. Housekeepers have witnessed a tapping on their shoulder whilst working in the restaurant area, and staff have also witnessed windows flying open when they approach them. I got back to my room late one evening, and I walked to the bank of elevators. There are several for the guests to use. Before I could even push the call button, the door opened at the far end, so I stepped in. I immediately noticed the elevator looked different from the others. Most elevators are a reasonable size, and they're brightly lit. They're adorned with mirrors all around the walls. Well, this one was small and very dark. I think it had like a 30-amp bulb in the ceiling, 30-watt. The walls were of dark wood. It appeared to be a small staff elevator. At least that's what I think. It kind of looked like the scene from a horror movie. As I slowly moved up to my floor, I felt as if there was someone in the box with me. I'm not easily shaken, but that was the longest elevator ride I've ever had. Had the elevator started down instead, I would have probably had a heart attack. Just type in haunted elevators at Adolphus. You'll get some images and videos that show the elevators are all opening and closing on their own. This is just another example of weird goings-on at this luxury hotel. Saving the most popular report of paranormal activity until the very last, there is believed to be the ghost of a jilted bride wandering about the 19th floor of the hotel. She was due to be married one day during the 1930s, but her fiancé didn't show, leaving the bride to be embarrassed and broken-hearted. Later that day, her body was found, hanging a few feet from the spot where she had been due to say her vows. For those people staying on the 19th floor, a regular occurrence is the sound of a woman crying and footsteps along the hallway. Her apparition has been seen by many guests, often when there has been a function or a party. Her ghost is often accompanied by the sound of a music box playing 1930s tunes. And we're going to take a brief pause here and play a couple of commercials. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back after these. You're listening to Arkanasa Radio. Do you have skin? Would you like to take better care of it? Call Lourdes James, independent beauty consultant, and set up an appointment. Call 723-3019. If your vision isn't what it used to be, and you're not sure you're seeing Bigfoot or just your neighbor mowing his lawn, stop on by Del Norte Optical, 107 Calle del Norte, just across the street from the Embassy Suites. You should be able to see what you're looking at. Are you looking for a great cup of coffee, but you just don't know where to look? Swing on by the Organic Man Coffee Trike, 1002 Iturbide, Suite number 7. They serve only the best coffee around. Not into coffee? They also have a wide selection of teas. It's a great place to meet friends or just spend time with a good book. The Organic Man Coffee Trike. Life is too short to drink bad coffee.
No, don't say goodbye. Stay with us. This is Arkanasa Radio. Quédate con nosotros. Estás escuchando Arkanasa Radio.
You're listening to Strange Things with Chris James. And welcome back to the show. Now, why would any ghost want to hang out at a hotel, you might ask? Hotels have been the scenes of a wide variation of emotions. Weddings are held there. Parties and get-togethers. Happy times. Then there are those who spend their last moments on earth in a hotel, while en route from one place to another. Suicides as well as just plain deaths. Big deals have been made in the back rooms of some hotels. Lots of happy and sad emotions. Lots of energy is expelled as people go about a part of their lives that is almost always a memorable occasion. Maybe this is what leads to the spirits lingering on after their deaths. The Hotel Lawrence is another Dallas hotel with issues. The Hotel Lawrence was built in 1925 and was then known as the Scott Hotel, after the owner, George C. Scott. No, not the one you're thinking of. He wasn't born for another 2 years. The hotel was built to house the passengers stopping in from Union Station, which was just across the street. A decline in the building and local economy nearly resulted in the hotel becoming a minimum security jail in the 70s. The hotel was slowly drifting to the level of Skid Row. There were plans to tear it down and build a new structure in its place. And then there was a resurgence in the economy. Money started to flow into the Dallas once more, along with people. And people needed places to stay. The Lawrence was refurbished and saved from the wrecking ball. The hotel was reopened in 1981, and its name was changed to the Bradford. The hotel then underwent many changes in ownership throughout the years, as well as many name changes. It was purchased for the final time in 2000 and renamed the Hotel Lawrence. There was a $4 million renovation, and it was reopened in September 2001. Over the years, the hotel has encountered its fair share of deaths. It is believed these souls still reside there. There have been numerous reports of strange goings-on at the Hotel Lawrence, which has led many to believe the hotel is in fact harboring several more ghosts than originally had been thought of. 3 of the ghosts are thought to be a woman, a murder victim, and a gambler. Could these be the spirits of people that lost their lives there? What's strange is the people who did lose their lives all did so on the 10th floor, and all in room 1009. Jack Smiley Jackson was reportedly murdered in that room. He has been known to stand there holding the door shut when you're trying to get in. You have to ask him to politely move out of the way, and then the door will open. Another murder occurred in the same room when a man named Mr. Brookshire was found with his throat slashed. A woman was supposed to have either fallen to her death or maybe she was pushed from the 10th floor. And there was a congressman who committed suicide during his stay there, also on the 10th floor. In room 1009, a guest reportedly experienced what he said felt like a towel had been wrapped around his neck. Could this be something to do with the death of Mr. Brookshire? Also on the 10th floor, guests have reported seeing shadows in the hallway as well as in the rooms, and sometimes the sound of crying. During the Hotel Lawrence's fledgling years, a casino resided on the 2nd floor. It is here people see an apparition of a sad-looking gentleman who looks down on his luck. He wanders the hallways as if looking for someone or something. Could this be the spirit of some gambler from the past who lost everything, as well as his life, and is now looking in vain to recoup his losses? In the dead of night, disembodied footsteps can be heard crossing the lobby of the hotel. In the basement, laundry carts have been known to pushed by unseen hands, and doors have been witnessed opening and closing all by themselves. Voices have been reported, the feeling of being watched, and there are sudden cold spots felt throughout the building. There are a number of reports throughout the hotel, but the 10th floor does seem to have a majority of them. If you want to stay at the Hotel Lawrence and experience something, the 10th floor seems to be the place to be. Staying in Dallas on either business or pleasure and you want a memorable stay, check out the Lawrence, 302 South Houston Street on the corner of Jackson Street. It's just 3 blocks south of Dealey Plaza. You can walk over and see where President Kennedy was assassinated. The Holocaust Museum is close by as well. If you're in Dallas, you should visit the Holocaust Museum. I have been there, and I think you should too. Considered as one of the haunted places in Galveston, Texas, the Hotel Galvez and Spa is the home of the Lovelorn Lady. This very active spirit can be found on the 5th floor of the hotel, where she is still waiting for her fiancé. The woman checked in back in the 50s. She was there to join her soon-to-be husband, who was at sea at the time. While waiting for the rendezvous, she received news that her fiancé's ship had sunk somewhere off the coast of Florida. Men from the ship were rescued, but her fiancé was not one of them. Well, she refused to accept his death and would walk up to the top floor to gaze out into the Gulf, looking for his ship. Desperate and grieving, she hung herself in her room. She is said to be trapped for all of eternity in the hotel, still waiting for her fiancé. The ladies' room in the downstairs lobby is also considered to be haunted by some unknown entity. Staff and guests have reported strange activity in the room. Toilets would flush by themselves, and these were not those automatic kind. Stall doors would shake. Faucets in the sink would turn on by themselves, and voices can also be heard even when the room is empty. The strong scent of gardenias has been reported. A gardenia seems to be the sign of whatever paranormal entity is haunting the room is present. Now, on the second Wednesday and Thursday of each month, the Galvez has a ghost tour. The cost is $56 per person, but it includes a 3-course meal. If this sounds like something you'd be interested in, you should call ahead and not just show up. Why, you might ask? The tours fill up fast and you might miss a spot. I talked to Melissa Hall, the concierge, and the ghost lady. If you do get a place in one of the tours, they ask that you be there by 5:30 to sign all the appropriate forms. The tour starts promptly at 6 o'clock. Melissa told me they encourage you to bring a camera. They have caught some interesting images. One was of a tall man dressed like a British soldier, only he was sporting a mohawk. The photo was taken in one of the bathrooms on the 7th floor. Melissa has accumulated quite a collection of ghost images and is more than happy to share them with you during the tour. She told me they have a free app as well from the Play Store. Just type in Hotel Galvez. It is a self-guided tour of the historic parts of the hotel. The Galvez is located at 2024 Seawall Boulevard. Just take I-45 south onto the island and turn right at 25th Street. Drive till you run out of road and turn left. If you want to take part in the tour, call 409-515-2154 and ask about the ghost tours. I'll put the number on my Facebook page at the end of the show today. The Emily Morgan Hotel is in San Antonio. This elegant hotel is nestled in the heart of the historic Alamo Plaza. The hotel offers the highest level of service, comfort, and style. It's pet-friendly, and it boasts 177 newly designed hotel rooms, a world-class bar and restaurant, library, an outdoor pool, a hot tub with a relaxing light display, a fully equipped state-of-the-art fitness facility, and a most welcoming and helpful staff. And it's haunted, and for good reasons. Before becoming a hotel, the place had been a hospital. Built in 1924, it was designed in a Gothic style, which means creepy. The place looked more like a castle than a place of healing. The walls of the building are lined with gargoyles, each one carved to depict a different ailment. These carvings gave the place a haunted look long before the first patient entered the front doors. In 1976, the building was converted to a modern office building, and in 1984, the building was renovated again, ready for use as the Emily Morgan Hotel that you see today. The Battle of the Alamo is considered to be the turning point in Texas' war for independence from Mexico. 6 weeks after this battle, the Army of Texas moved to San Jacinto, where the final battle took place. During siesta time, on April 21st, 1836, the Texas Army stormed the camp of Mexican General Santa Anna. He had posted no guards and was unprepared for the attack. Consequently, the Texans won the decisive battle in about 18 minutes. Legend has it that an indentured servant named Emily D. West was entertaining the general in his tent as the attack was about to commence. As the Texans approached, Emily delayed General Santa Anna long enough that his orders were late getting to his troops lined up for battle. It was a one-sided fight. Emily West was a free woman of color. She was born in New Haven, Connecticut. In 1835, she was contracted to James Morgan in New York to work as an indentured servant for 1 year in Morgan's Point, Texas, at the New Washington Association's hotel as a housekeeper. This is supposed to be the time she began using the last name Morgan. This was a common practice when becoming indentured. Let's say you're living back then. You needed a job, but you didn't have many skills. It would be hard to find work, especially if you were the wrong color. As a quick means of finding work, you could rent yourself out to someone for as long as you thought necessary. You're not a slave, but you have to do a lot more than a typical servant would do. April 16, 1836, several months into her year of indenturedship, West and other residents were captured by the Mexican cavalry. West was forced to travel with General Santa Anna's army as they prepared to face the army led by Sam Houston. She was in the Mexican camp on April 21st when Houston's forces attacked. Emily still had time on her contract, so she went back to work for Colonel Morgan. Due to history being a bit screwed up during this time, the story may be wrong, but it still sounds good. In 1984, when the building became a hotel, it was given the name Emily Morgan as a nod to one of the people who did what they could to make Texas into a republic. Now, is this story true? Maybe. If you're from Texas, the story is true. If you want to have the best chance of experiencing something paranormal, the 3rd, the 7th, the 11th, and the 12th floors are known to be the most active. During its time as a medical facility, some of these floors were used as psychiatric facilities. Guests and staff have witnessed many strange things on these floors throughout the years, as well as throughout the hotel. Let's start at the top and work our way down. Up on the 12th floor was the former location of the operating theater. You want to know why it's called an operating theater? Back when they first started cutting people open in Europe and looking inside and seeing what was going on and what was wrong with them, the doctor would stand in the center of a large round room, and people would stand in large circles around him and watch as he performed his operation. Kind of like a theater. So they called it a operating theater, and the name has kind of stuck with it till today. Folks say they hear strange sounds that don't fit in with the surroundings. Also, many have said the smell of medications and drugs is heavy in the air. People say they have felt a hand on their shoulder, only to find out there's nobody there. We're going to take a brief pause right here, play a couple of commercials. We'll be right back after this, so don't go away. You're listening to Arkanasa Radio. Do you have skin? Would you like to take better care of it? Call Lourdes James, independent beauty consultant, and set up an appointment. Call 723-3019. If your vision isn't what it used to be, and you're not sure you're seeing Bigfoot or just your neighbor mowing his lawn, stop on by Del Norte Optical, 107 Calle del Norte, just across the street from the Embassy Suites. You should be able to see what you're looking at. Are you looking for a great cup of coffee, but you just don't know where to look? Swing on by the Organic Man Coffee Trike, 1002 Iturbide, Suite number 7. They serve only the best coffee around. Not into coffee? They also have a wide selection of teas. It's a great place to meet friends or just spend time with a good book. The Organic Man Coffee Trike. Life is too short to drink bad coffee.
No, don't say goodbye. Stay with us. This is Arcanelza Radio. Quédate con nosotros. Estás escuchando Arcanelza Radio.
You're listening to Strange Things with Chris James. And welcome to the show. Just before we took a break, we were talking about the Emily Morgan Hotel. On the 11th floor, you stand a good chance of seeing an elderly woman dressed in a hospital gown walking the halls. If you listen carefully, you can hear her crying. She'll turn and suddenly disappear into one of the rooms. People also report hearing a hospital gurney being wheeled along the corridor. In a hospital, this would be normal, but not in a hotel, especially late at night when the corridor is empty. On the 9th floor, guests complain that the sound of the toilet lids keep being banged up and down. These sounds come from adjoining rooms that are not occupied at the time. Wine bottles have been known to fall from their tables without anyone being near. The 7th floor is the lair of a dark shape. Both guests and staff have seen this shadowy form skulking about the hallways and then vanishing through a closed door or wall. One family awoke in the middle of the night when all the electronic devices in the room came to life. The TV, the radio, all the lights had come on. The family saw a black, shadowy image wisp through the air and then pass through the wall. A guest on the 3rd floor was awakened in the middle of the night to the sound of humming and witnessed the apparition of a young girl sitting at the foot of her bed. The young girl spoke to her, asking if she would like to sing along. Well, the following night, the guest was awoken again, around the same time as the night before. However, this time, an ice-cold form had slipped into bed with her. The form snuggled up next to her. It was one thing to sing at night, but this would be just way too much. The guest said both occurrences had been accompanied by a sudden drop in the room's temperature. Another guest staying on the 3rd floor heard the sound of a woman singing. The sound was right there in the room with her and her son. Okay, here's one we've heard before. Haunted elevators. What's up with ghosts and elevators? It's quite common for elevators to pick up faults, and a vast majority of haunted elevator stories can be put down as faulty wiring. Well, the elevators at the Emily Morgan have been repeatedly inspected but no faults have been found. It's strange then how they seem to make calls when empty and persistently go from the 6th to the 7th floor and then back again. They head past the floor that you have pressed, and inexplicably they've taken people to the hotel basement, which was once the morgue, and then they refuse to budge. There you are, stuck in the morgue. I wonder how many folks have spent the night down there, waiting to be rescued. The Emily Morgan is situated overlooking the Alamo, one of the most haunted locations in Texas. At night, you just catch a glimpse of the long-dead soldiers if you look out of your hotel room window. During the Alamo, more than 600 soldiers lost their lives. General Santa Anna ordered the bodies of the Texas soldiers to be piled up and burned, including the likes of Jim Bowie and David Crockett. Are they still defending the area in death, or are they looking to avenge their undignified end? Why is a place where a battle took place just about always haunted? And yes, the area around Goliad is haunted as well. The original saying was, "Remember the Alamo, remember Goliad." But we'll have to wait for another day to get into all of that. If you'd like to visit the Emily Morgan, head over to San Antonio and take Houston Street east until you pass the Alamo on the right. You'll see the hotel on your left. Not every hotel stay was at the behest of the government. My wife and I stayed at the Menger Hotel in San Antonio. Now this is quite a hotel. I checked us in while my wife was away on business. The room key was a card, not the magnetic, but similar. I walked to our room to put our luggage away. The numbers went up as I was approaching the end of the hallway, but the number we had was not there. The hallway turned, and the number started 3 digits too high. I kept looking around for several minutes trying to find our room. There was a door, it had no number on it, and it wasn't locked, so I went through. There I found several more doors. None of these doors had numbers. I began counting doors until I hoped I was at the right spot, and I stuck the card in. Well, the lock clicked, so I went in, and I immediately thought, this is the wrong room. It was huge. The windows opened onto the Alamo Plaza. Since the hotel was full, they had booked us into the Teddy Roosevelt luxury suite. Holy cow, this was wild. I had heard stories of weird goings-on, so I had packed accordingly. Cameras, night vision, recorder. My wife was there on business, but I was there on a ghost hunt. I spent many an hour looking about the hallways trying to find something, anything, of the otherworldly type. To begin with, it's hard to do a ghost hunt when the lights stay on all the time. It just felt all wrong. Then there was the steady flow of people coming and going all the time. I did get plenty of odd looks. When's the last time you saw a guy wearing night vision goggles sneaking around in a well-lit hallway? But the hotel is haunted. The Menger Hotel was built in 1859 by William Menger, along with architect John Fries. It was widely renowned as the grandest hotel west of the Mississippi, playing host to several important guests, including Sam Houston, Generals Lee and Grant, Presidents McKinley, Taft, Eisenhower, and Roosevelt, as well as Babe Ruth and Mae West. It rose to prominence as the best hotel in the Southwest after the Civil War had ended and various additions were made, as well as the new railroad that arrived in 1871. It was renowned for its fine cuisine, which included specialties such as snapper soup, which was made from turtles caught in the San Antonio River. Further additions were made in 1880, with a new bar being installed, designed as a replica of the Lord's Club in London, England. In 1909, the hotel was enlarged again with additions to the south side, and it continued to attract high members of society. It declined considerably during the Great Depression, but was renovated in the 1940s. By 1951, the hotel had been completely renovated and modernized. 1976, the Menger was included in the National Registry of Historic Places as a part of the Alamo Plaza Historic District. As well as being one of the oldest, it is also believed to be the most haunted in Texas, with no fewer than 32 separate ghosts reported throughout the year. I know I said this about other hotels. I can only report what I read. If I didn't actually stay there, every hotel wants to be the most haunted, or the least haunted, depending on their clientele. President Teddy Roosevelt is said to haunt the Menger. Before he was president, Teddy Roosevelt had a taste for adventure. When war broke out between the United States and Spain, Roosevelt got busy putting together his own cavalry unit. They were known as the Rough Riders. Roosevelt would stand at the bar of the Menger and he would entice young men to join his unit. He was known to ply his recruits with more alcohol should they not sign on quickly enough. When the U.S. landed in Cuba, Roosevelt's Rough Riders were there leading the charge. Today, his spirit has been seen standing at the bar by more than one guest. He's a bit conspicuous, seeing as he's dressed in his military uniform. If you saw the movie, A Night at the Museum, he is said to kind of look like Robin Williams. The most often reported sighting is a woman named Sally White. She had been a chambermaid at the hotel during the Victorian times and worked cleaning rooms for the guests. One night after her shift, she returned home to her less than kindly husband. I'd be willing to bet alcohol was involved. He killed her in a rage. The hotel paid for her funeral. Maybe she liked working there. Maybe it was more of a home to her than what she had. Guests have seen a woman dressed in old-time Victorian costume walking along the hallways. Some have even caught her on film. If you look for the ghost of Sally White, you'll see some ghastly images. Another apparition that has been witnessed in the hotel is that of Captain Richard King. He was the owner of one of the biggest ranches in the world, known as the King Ranch. It's bigger than some countries in Europe. It's bigger than some states in the United States. He was the owner of one of the biggest ranches, like I said, the King Ranch. He would often stay at the hotel during his lifetime, as he had his own personal suite there. After being informed of his impending death by his physician, he spent the last few months of his life in his suite, writing his will and bidding a farewell to all of his friends. His funeral was even held in the parlor of the hotel. His suite, now named the King Ranch Room, is where his ghost is usually seen. The phantom is seen walking into the room through a wall. There had been a door there until the room was remodeled. Another ghost seen by staff as well as guests is the Woman in Blue. She's seen sitting where the lobby used to be, knitting. On one occasion, one of the staff approached the woman and asked if she needed anything. The ghost said no and then disappeared. This ghost seems happy to just sit there while away the time, doing what she liked best, knitting and watching people come and go. The odd thing is, this sounds like a residual haunting, the ghost going through its normal routine. But then she answered the staff member, which is the sign of an intelligent haunting. This is very odd indeed. A male entity has been witnessed by a guest who is getting out of the shower. Emerging from the shower, the guest saw a man dressed in a buckskin jacket and gray pants, seemingly arguing with an unseen presence. "Are you going to stay or are you going to go?" he was reported to be saying 3 times before he vanished. There have also been reports of helpful ghosts in the kitchen, with staff members often reporting utensils floating through the air from one area to another. Due to the location of the hotel, facing the site of the Alamo, many of the reports can be attributed to the lives that were lost there. One of the most frequently reported is the sound of heavy footsteps, like the sound of somebody in military boots. This is just a fraction of the reports that have occurred there, although all are seemingly friendly, with the only terrifying aspect of them being their sudden appearance, startling guests and staff alike. The Menger Hotel is located to the right of the Alamo Chapel. That's the building you see in all the photos. So, the ground under the Menger would have been part of the battleground during the siege of the Alamo. In other words, fighting and dying took place right under the floors of the hotel. If you look to the north, you'll see the Emily Morgan rising high in the sky just 2 blocks away. Just around the corner from the Menger is the historic Crockett Hotel, built in 1909 on the grounds of the Alamo battlefield as well. It is believed to be haunted by ghosts of the long-dead soldiers from those fateful days in 1836. The hotel is on Bonham Street, and you have a view of the Alamo Chapel from the west and the north sides. The Crockett Hotel was built on the grounds of the Alamo, where Davy Crockett and a band of Texas settlers defended the area from Mexican forces during the bloody 13-day siege in February and March of 1836. The current 6-story building was constructed by the Three Link Fraternity, a fraternal organization dating back to 18th century England. They built the landmark 6-story building to be used as both a lodge for its members and a hotel. The 7-story west wing was added in 1927. The hotel was renovated in 1982 and later earned a place on the National Registry of Historic Structures. The Crockett Hotel was once again completely renovated in 2007, bringing the building back to its former glory. People report seeing men dressed in dark blue uniforms walking about the hallways and sometimes the guest rooms. The most active area seems to be the lobby and the bar. The front door to the lobby often opens and shuts of its own accord. The apparition of man in dark blue jacket has been seen many times by guests and staff alike. The funny thing about seeing a ghost, you might not know it's a ghost. Luciano Guajardo, the founder of the first ghost investigating group here in Laredo, had this to say about ghosts. There are 2 kinds of people in this world: those who believe in ghosts and those who do not. If those of you who believe in ghosts were asked to tell why you believed, it would take an hour, maybe 2 or 3, for you to tell why you believed in ghosts. Those that do not believe it would take maybe 3 or 4 seconds. All you could say is, I don't believe in ghosts because I've never seen one. How do you know you've never seen a ghost? How do you know the man or woman you see standing on Santa Maria Street corner is not a ghost? I'm sure that you've seen a man or woman somewhere that every time you went by, there he or she was. Maybe she's waiting for you, and you think she's waiting for a bus. It could be that certain hours she becomes visible to certain people. So, unless the ghost does something odd or is dressed in an unusual way, you might not never know that he or she is a ghost. Not all the men in the Alamo had uniforms. Those that did, some looked like they'd put them together on their own. Back then, you wore what you had. The Army of Texas wore a dark blue jacket and sometimes pants to match. The new belief is there were something around 250 men defending the Alamo. Only a few of them were in the Army of Texas. Others were in the militia or simply there as volunteers. Now, we're going to take a break here and play a couple commercials and drink some coffee, so don't go away. We'll be right back after this. And it's not playing. Okay, never mind. The commercials don't seem to want to play. These modern machines are great and wonderful until they stop working correctly, and then they're not so wonderful. Okay, we just won't play any commercials. I'll continue with what I was talking about. Getting back to the Crockett Hotel. Faint whispers are heard throughout the hotel. Looking around, there's never anyone there. Then there's the sudden appearance of a cold spot, and these can't be associated with the air conditioning ducts. There are plenty of other unexplained occurrences. Disembodied footsteps are often heard in rooms in the middle of the night, and curtains have been known to move on their own. Guests have also reported the sound of chanting, the trotting of horses' hooves, and of course the elevators go up and down by themselves and open on floors they didn't want to stop at. Here's just another elevator haunting. If you want to visit the Crockett Hotel, take Euston Street east and drive until you get to Bowie Street. Turn to the right and drive to East Crockett Street and take another right. Look for the hotel on the right. Its address is 320 Bonham Street, but all the streets in this part of San Antonio are one-ways. Now we go to Austin, where we have the Driscoll Hotel. The Driscoll Hotel was the brainchild of Colonel Jesse Driscoll. It cost $400,000 to complete at the time, which in today's money is $12 million. It originally had 4 stories and it occupied almost half of a city block. Carved limestone busts of Colonel Driscoll and his 2 sons can be seen crowning the hotel on 3 sides. The hotel's grand opening was on the 20th of December, 1886. It was even featured in a special edition of the Austin Daily Statesman. Then Governor Sewell Ross chose to have his inaugural ball in the hotel's ballroom, and since then it has become a Texas tradition. Through the 19th and 20th century, the hotel changed hands several times. The most recent renovation was back in 1996. If you watch any of those ghost investigation shows on TV, you must have heard someone mention how any time you renovate a building, it will stir up spirits hanging around. Room 525 is said to be the most haunted room in the entire hotel. It is believed that 2 women committed suicide in the room. Not at the same time, but 20 years apart, and both on their honeymoons. With so many unusual reports of sounds and visions coming from room 525, the staff decided to close it off and not rent it out anymore. The room was opened again during the renovation in 1998, and since then strange occurrences have been reported again. Some of the reported phenomena includes ghostly apparitions, unexplained leaks, weird sensations, distant voices, and unexplained noises. The hotel's 4th floor is also the home of a woman who committed suicide. The spirit of a female has been seen on the 4th floor. The hotel staff also reports a woman crying on the 4th floor, even when there's nobody around. Lastly, there's the story of a young girl who died from a fall while playing on the grand staircase. She had been the daughter of the senator who was staying in the hotel at the time. Some guests and staff have reported seeing a bright, multicolored ball rolling around in the hallway. If you can handle the traffic and find yourself in Austin, you'll find the Driscoll at 604 Brazos Street, right where it intersects with 6th Avenue. If you're not familiar with Austin's 6th Avenue, that's where you'll find all the bars and the nightclubs, as well as the Museum of the Weird. Next time you're staying in a hotel and you hear something odd or see someone who shouldn't be there, and just remember this show. If you'd enjoyed this show and would like to hear more, just go to strangethings.podomatic.com and check out our archives. I am going to be taking some of the oldest shows out of the archives to free up some room for newer things. I'll be putting some more books out as well. You can download the first 10 episodes if you'd like, or you just live without them, but those are the ones saying goodbye. Now there's a project that I have in mind. I'm going to take all of my show notes. I'm going to rewrite as much as I can, and then I'm going to try to put them together in a book form. Now, it's not going to be just me doing the show like you're listening to it here. I'm going to try to expand some of the stories and make it worth reading. So look for it sometime in the future. The book will be called Strange Things, and hopefully it'll be out before the end of the year, but if you've never written a book, it's a lot of work. We'll be back next Saturday with the show on Charles Fort. If you don't know who Charles Fort is, he is responsible for just about every paranormal organization around today. He started the whole Fortean movement, thus the name, Fortean. Tune in to find out about the man who kind of started the whole let's go looking for ghosts things. Till next week, I'm Chris James. I hope you've enjoyed the show. And the exit music doesn't play, so we'll just shut her off here.